You need a blank slate. You need a fresh page, and you're not going to be able to get that if you're constantly still holding on to what you thought would be. There can be this anxiety, and I feel like this is also potentially something of our generation, where we feel like every year has to be a good year. Every era has to be a good era. Every chapter of our lives has to be like a romanticized highlight reel. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ask Me, or Ask Kalyn, member advice, whatever you want to call this. And in an embarrassing turn of events, there is a piece of spinach from my smoothie stuck in my teeth, but it happens to the best of us, and it's a very human moment, and I have to keep going. I have to keep trudging on because there's lots of videos and content to get done. So yeah, friend to friend, just pretend that you don't see that there. This is a series I've been doing all spring where I put out an opportunity to send in anything you wanted my take on, my advice on, my perspective on. And I got such an influx of submissions, and I was trying to go through them chronologically, but then I realized that it was just going to be it would be impossible. There was too many submissions. So I've started to collect a few that I feel like will make sense for the last few episodes of this series because the questions have a similar thread through them. And today's is going to be about making the right decisions in life, how to basically make peace with where you're at in life if you feel like you wanted to be somewhere else 5 years ago, or feeling like years may have been taken away from you, or that you've missed part of your youth because you were dealing with something. Finding that balance with being in the present, accepting the past, and learning to be excited, but also to let go and trust in your future. Okay, let's dive in because we have a couple questions to go through today. Also, cheers. Let me know what you're drinking. I made myself a smoothie because I have not been on as much of a coffee train lately. I feel like it's been really upsetting my stomach. And so I've just been drinking a lot more like waters, teas. And because it's really hot today, I made myself a smoothie because it's also basically lunchtime. So cheers and let me know what you're drinking. Summer definitely requires extra hydration, and making sure to get it, especially in those dehydrating moments out in the sun, doing all the things you got to do in a day. So turn your ordinary water into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. You can get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code TALK at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using my promo code TALK, T-A-L-K, at liquidiv.com. So the first piece of advice, or I guess the first question, comes in saying, how to cope with the fact that my life is not where I thought it would be 5 years back. First things first, I feel like it's worth mentioning that no matter how much we dream and we plan and we set goals, the place that we do that from is a very sometimes spiritual, but mostly intellectual place. We sit down and we think about our futures, right? But we're not actually living them. We're not actually feeling them. We're not actually navigating them. And 5 years is enough time for lots of things to change, not to mention if you look at what's gone on just globally in the last 5 years, then I think you should be able to cut yourself some grace that everybody had to deal with twists and turns that nobody was expecting. Now, I'm willing to bet that even if you aren't where you thought you would be 5 years ago, or where you had dreamt of being 5 years ago, that lots has still changed for you in the last 5 years, and that you as a person have probably evolved a lot in the last 5 years. And so my first piece of advice would be to really set aside some time to marinate in that in whatever way makes most sense to you. If you're someone that likes to meditate, if you're someone that likes to journal, if you're someone that likes to talk with a loved one, but finding a safe space and finding some intentional time to, regardless of what you thought life would be like at this point, put that aside for a second and take a really honest, unbiased, unjudgmental look at the last 5 years of your life, at how much you've gone through, at what you've faced, of what you've overcome, of what has changed, of how you've evolved, of what you've learned, and the things you have done. Allow yourself to truly hold space for where you really are and how much you have changed in the last 5 years without measuring it to an expectation of where you thought you would be. And if you can, try to do something, some kind of symbolic action or ritual or just affirmation in the mind, that you are letting go of where you thought you would be. You need a blank slate. You need a fresh page, and you're not going to be able to get that if you're constantly still holding on to what you thought would be. And that's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be a quick thing. For the most part, when we're trying to let go of where we anticipated ourselves being or where we expected ourselves to be and the disappointment that we feel around that, sometimes we have to do that a couple times for the spirit and for the mind and for the body to really untangle, and especially the mind, to untangle from those thoughts. What were my intentions when I set my goals or set my dreams 5 years ago? What was I really looking for? Because another thing that's really important to mention too is that a lot of the times when we're setting goals and visions and dreams, we're doing it from a very material aspect. So we assume like, okay, I want to have a house and I want to have this much money in the bank and I want to have a partner and I want to have a job that pays me this much money. But what is the actual energy underneath those dreams and those goals? This is important whether or not you relate to this question, because what this does is it actually gets to the core energy of what your dreams are. So if your dream, let's say, was to have a house, what that really says, or what that really would tell me, is that your dream is to feel rooted, is to feel secure, is to feel at home. And you can feel rooted, secure, and at home without owning a home. I mean, obviously, yes, it's a great goal. Almost all of us want to be able to own a home, to own property. Come back to that core energy, because when you give yourself the fresh slate of, I'm releasing what I expected, but I'm taking note of the core energy of what my dreams were, of what my goals were, then you can set new goals under that same energy, but also create that energy in a smaller way, but in a more routined way in your life already right now. Let's keep going with the house because we used it as an example. If you wanted to have owned a home by this point and you don't, the core energy underneath owning a home is feeling rooted, feeling secure, and feeling at home, or that's what I'm going to call it, but you can find different core energy. In what ways can you make the space that you currently inhabit feel more homey? In what ways can you allow yourself to feel more secure, whether it's in your finances or just within yourself, within your body, which is also in a way a home. It is a place that you inhabit. It's a place that you live. And in what ways can you root? Feeling rooted can come from spending or finding a special place outside in nature, whether it's in a park or a walking trail or in a backyard or wherever, that becomes your secret spot. It becomes your place that you go to, where you go to journal, where you go to read a chapter of your book. And it doesn't have to be outside. I just feel like it does make sense to be feeling rooted outside. But again, take this and adapt it in whatever way is going to make the most sense to you. But what that does is it gives you that feeling without needing the material goal. Now, you can still aim for the material goal. However, the shift that's going to come there is once you've let go of where you expected to be now, you can start setting new goals for where you plan to be. And ideally, yes, in order to be successful with a goal, it is great to have a timeline. Sometimes having a timeline pushes us into action. Also, though, sometimes having a timeline pushes us into disappointment when it's not necessarily realistic or if things happen that are unpredictable. So yeah, you could give yourself a general timeline. I have a vision board and it's for 3 years. Do I actually need to do everything on my vision board in 3 years? No, not necessarily. The timeline is just for me to get some sense of framework, but be a bit more specific about what the goal is and what the steps are to getting there. So you can reestablish your goals, and yes, you can still make them material because we are humans living in a 3-dimensional existence, and having a physical representation of your goal is what's going to, again, help give it framework to feel like, okay, I've accomplished this. Sometimes it's hard for us to get that feeling just from feelings. And the best way to make sure your goals are realistic is to break them down into manageable, actionable tasks. That is where you really get to see how realistic your goals are. I struggle with this so much. Even to this day, I am very ambitious and lofty when it comes to dreaming and planning. But when it comes to actually breaking down how many steps go into accomplishing something, and then looking at my calendar and being like, okay, let's block out all of the time that's already spoken for, what time is left over, you get an actual good look at, wow, okay, this is actually going to take a lot longer than I anticipated. It's not always so fun because I think especially in this day and age, when everything is so quick and everything is so like flashy, and specifically things like social media, I think it can make us want shortcuts. It can make us want to snap our fingers and have everything we want. But if that were the case, then we wouldn't actually value the things that we've created in our lives or worked for in our lives. And so if things are going to take longer than you anticipated, that's okay. It's going to taste that much better. It's going to feel that much better when you do get there. And along the way, you can, again, recreate that core energy of what your goals and dreams are in your day-to-day life. And then ultimately just meeting yourself with a sense of compassion, because like I said, like it's probably going to come back up for you a couple times, especially let's say you had an idea of where you wanted to be 5 years ago today, and you don't feel like you're there yet, but maybe you have friends you feel like are there right now, or maybe you see people online that are exactly where you wanted to be by this point in your life. That can be tough. And that level of comparison, it sucks that it's so embedded in our nature as human beings, but it is something that you can greet yourself with compassion. Like it's impossible not to contrast and compare ourselves. That mechanism of the brain is there for a reason. It could be an angel on your shoulder or a devil on your shoulder. It can motivate us, or it can make us feel really poorly about ourselves. Sorry, morbid, but go to your deathbed and imagine you are laying there in your last moments of life, and whatever you believe in, an angel, a guide, an opportunity, a voice in your head, whatever it is, comes in and says, just kidding. I'm going to bring you back to today, right here today, like exactly when you're listening to this right now. And you're going to get all this time back, and you're going to have exactly the circumstances you have today. The difference of the way that you look at your life when you do that like meditation, that practice, actually where I'm at right now isn't so bad. I would give anything to have this day back if I was at the very end. And yeah, I'm still working towards where I want to be, but that doesn't make where I am any less enjoyable or valuable, or have any less of an ability to be enjoyable and valuable. So I hope that helped. And if anybody has any advice that they feel like fits this question that they want to add to, please, please, please leave it in the comment section. The next submission for advice says, moving forward with life after anxiety and depression have taken so many years away from you. One thing I really don't want to do with my answer is romanticize mental health. So let me put that first. I have suffered from anxiety and depression, at times debilitating, at times highly, highly high functioning. And when I think back on those years, I can understand the thought or the perspective, even though I don't know your exact circumstances, that it would feel like it took away moments or opportunities or time in your life. On the flip side, could I ask you if you feel like your experience with your mental health, your experience with suffering from things like anxiety and depression have shaped you, have evolved in your character to make you a stronger, wiser, more humble, more empathetic, kinder, more aware, more appreciative person? And there's so many other words I could have kept going there with the type of characteristics that the types of suffering that we all face, which is different. It usually does sharpen some pretty strong characteristics in our personalities. So what I'm getting at here is that, yes, you may have lost a few years. Sorry, let me rephrase that. You may have spent a few years really suffering, but in those years, was that suffering or has that suffering helped you grow in some way? And again, that's not me romanticizing mental health. It would be great if we could get that growth through other avenues of life. But one thing that is certain, just like change, is that when you're a human being, you will suffer. And it's a hard thing to make space for. It's an uncomfortable thing to make space for. But in one way or another, we all end up suffering. We all end up having experiences that aren't positive, that don't feel good, that are really, really hard, that test us, that push us to our absolute limits. There can be this anxiety, and I feel like this is also potentially something of our generation, where we feel like every year has to be a good year. Every era has to be a good era. Every chapter of our lives has to be like a romanticized highlight reel. And our brains are very likely being rewired to look at our lives that way, consuming things like content and really pretty aesthetics and cut down versions of people's lives and the highlight reels of people's lives, and also creating that out of our own lives, that it would change our brain chemistry a little bit to start expecting that nobody else is feeling like they've lost time from their lives dealing with any kind of suffering or mental health issues, or to take a look at our own history, our own past, our own youth even, and feel like it was wasted on something like that. But is there a way to reframe your perspective that instead of it being a waste or something that you feel like was stolen from you or taken from you or that you lost in some way, that it could somehow be reframed as something that helped build you into the person you are today and will also set such a strong foundation for the life you're living here and onward? It's tricky because, again, I know that I've said this is going to be my third time. I'm not trying to romanticize the fact that you suffered and that now, or that you have to suffer or have to deal with mental health issues to be a strong person. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm definitely saying that it very likely turned you into a strong person, and it very likely taught you a lot of life lessons. And it very likely opened you up in ways that you wouldn't have been opened up to before. If I can recommend anybody that might be able to say the things I'm trying to say so much better than me, read something like Ryan Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way, where the only path that you could have lived is the one you already have lived. The only way forward is to deal with the shit in front of you, no matter who you are or what you're dealing with. The obstacle is the way. It's like we want these lives that are really easy, breezy, and problemless and without suffering, but then we actually wouldn't become strong, capable, wise beings. We wouldn't get to our old age and be like, yeah, we've been through it, but damn, have we seen things? Damn, have we felt things? Damn, have we lived? So your obstacle, that was the only way that you could have gone. That was the only timeline you were set to live. At least let's just believe that for this circumstance, because it's led you to where you are right now. So if you're in a cynical place, if you're feeling low, if you're feeling down because you've had years of your life that you had to deal with something and that's just like really bugging you, you're allowed to grieve those years. You're allowed to grieve that time. There is space to hold both of those nuanced feelings of, you know what, it helped me, it built me, and I'm a better person because of the things I've gone through, but it also sucked and it was hard and it was horrible and that time is gone, and you can grieve that too. You can feel both of those things. I don't know if that was conclusive advice, but that's what I would tell you. That's what I would have told my past self too, that dealt with the same things. Summer definitely requires extra hydration and making sure to get it, especially in those dehydrating moments out in the sun, doing all the things you got to do in a day. Liquid IV hydrates you and benefits you with things like electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients. It is my go-to for quick hydration, especially when I have forgotten to drink water in the past few hours. With 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients in a single stick, it is very clear why Liquid IV is the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. All you have to do is tear, pour, and enjoy a packet of Liquid IV wherever you are, on the go, outside, you name it. You can mix it into a glass of water. You can mix it into your water bottle. It's great for right after a workout. It's great for bringing with you if you're going on a hike or a walk or if you're gardening out in the backyard. Tear, pour, and live more. 1 stick plus about 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. They're also sugar-free and have flavors like white peach, green grape, raspberry melon, and lemon lime. So turn your ordinary water into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. You can get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code TALK at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using my promo code TALK, T-A-L-K, at liquidiv.com. Okay, the next piece of advice asks, worrying about making the right decisions in life, how to confidently make big life decisions like buying a house, getting married, having a baby, etc. There's a comfort that I get when I have to make decisions, and I'm a very, or can be a very indecisive person. There's a comfort that I get when I choose to believe in the notion that there's no such thing as a wrong decision. No matter what you choose, no matter what path you take in life, it's exactly the path you were meant to take. And you can, for the most part, always change your mind. Now, you can't change your mind about children. So that can definitely be a tough one to choose. Only you can answer that for yourself. You know deep down in your core of cores whether or not that is the right path for you. And if you don't know, that's okay too. And it's okay to be indecisive about these decisions. But let me just tell you that there is no such thing as a wrong decision. Everything is going to become part of your life experience. And there is a flare, a little whisper in this question or in this feeling, the feeling that could elicit a question like this of perfectionism. Like you have to make every right decision, almost as if there's no room for wrong decisions or there's no room for wrong turns. And that's, in my opinion, not possible, because even if you make a decision and then you start walking that path, you start walking in that direction, and then you learn, oh, this actually doesn't seem right. This actually doesn't feel right. For the most part, there are many other paths that branch off of the paths that we take. But when it comes to buying a house, when it comes to, what else did you mention here? You said buying a house, getting married, having a baby. How do you stop worrying about needing to make those decisions in life and how to confidently make them? Your confidence comes from your trust in yourself. Your confidence comes from, no matter what I face, I'll handle it. No matter what I face, I'll deal with it. No matter what I come across, no matter what decision I make, I will own it. I will take responsibility for it. And I will take creative control over it. Even if you make a choice or a decision that ends up not being what you thought it was going to be, this really leads back to the first question earlier that we answered, is that like you can dream and think up what you want your life to be all you want, but living it, experiencing it can sometimes be, and most often is, a lot different. So once you made your choice in your mind, and then time moves forward, you move forward, and you physically take action on that choice and move in that direction. If things change, trust yourself. Be confident in your ability to reevaluate. Be confident in your ability to get creative with life. Be confident in yourself, because the thing is that when you're trying to find confidence in your decisions, that's almost putting too much power externally. How can I confidently know that's right for me? You got to invert that a little bit. You have to be confident in yourself to know that you are right for whatever comes into your life, even if it ends up being a struggle, it ends up being not what you expected, it ends up being really hard. I mean, for instance, I am terrified of the thought of choosing the wrong partner, getting married, and then finding myself midlife to later life getting divorced. That would be devastating because I am a helpless romantic. I've always wanted to have that partner for life, that strongly built relationship, to put trust and feel confident in getting married. Like there's so many things that can happen that can derail a marriage. And there's so much trust there that you have to put in someone else. So I trust myself that even if, knock on wood, where is wood? Wood's on the floor. Hold on. Even if, worst case scenario, I end up in that position, or then I'm the one getting divorced, my marriage didn't work out, my relationship crumbles, especially now that it would be my part. It would be, I'm getting married to my current fiance and we have children. It would be the father of my child. Like that is the worst case scenario to me. But I confidently said yes to this marriage, or said yes to that engagement. I confidently said yes to children. I confidently said yes to merging our lives because I confidently trust myself to be able to manage and navigate anything that can happen in the future, and know that I'll be okay, and know that if even my worst fears came into fruition, I would sail those seas. I would find the silver lining. I would do everything I could to still take creative control over my life and steer those sails in a direction that still made the most of that suffering, of that time, of that experience, and still take creative control over the energy, time, and the circumstances of my life at that point, if that makes sense. Like to me, I'm like, I only get one life. Every decision is just life experience. Every single choice I make has been life experience. And it's just another part of your story. So take the perfectionism out of it a little bit. Know that you can make decisions, and know that and trust yourself that if they don't necessarily work out, it is going to season your soul no matter what choices you make in life. So just take all that pressure off. There's no such thing as a wrong decision. Trust your intuition, which can sometimes be hard. And I think I did a coffee talk 2 years ago now that was about like knowing the difference between your intuition versus like anxiety, like your mind or your intellect. And we could do a refresher on that kind of chat if that's of interest to anybody, but trust your intuition, trust your gut feelings. For the most part, when you're in tune with your intuition and your gut, you get a sense. That's why I said, like, when it comes to choosing children, that is the hardest decision in my point of view and my perspective. And it's one that needs to be respected no matter who the person is and what they chose. I trust in people's ability to know themselves and to know their intuition and to trust their own path. If you come across a home and you walk into that home while you're home searching or you're looking to buy, and you walk in and you just get a feeling, you're like, this is it. This is my house. Trust that feeling. If you are choosing a job, if you're deciding to get married, if you get these gut feelings, and gut feelings don't come up here. They don't come from rummaging or thinking something through. Gut feelings are usually instantaneous. You just feel it and it's flashing, fleeting. It's not always screaming. It's just like, oh, ooh, I either got a heck yes or a fuck no from that. And that is very, very intelligent information from a part of ourselves, a part of our psyche, a part of our deep wisdom that does not come from conscious thinking. There are no wrong decisions. And no matter what, you always, no matter where you are in your life, no matter where you're at, no matter what circumstances you are currently living right now, you always have creative control over your life. You might not have control of the external, but you can get creative no matter what circumstances you are in or no matter what choices you make. I have one more submission to go with our theme today. And it says, how do you find the meaning of life? I've just been feeling like life is so monotonous. Okay. My first question would be, when was the last time you connected to your spirit? And I say that as like, that doesn't mean you have to be a spiritual person. Your spirit is like the part of you that gets lost in time, that gets lost in doing because you're enjoying yourself so much. When was the last time you felt that way? When was the last time you were in that state of flow? Even if it's been a while, don't judge yourself for that. Don't feel poorly if you're like, wow, I don't remember feeling that way since I was a kid, playing outside in the backyard as a kid, or playing soccer or doing art. It doesn't have to be grand, although it absolutely can be, but it can also be something very small. Like I continuously get lost in music and just listening to it and moving to it and taking even 5 minutes out of the day to put on my headphones, put on a good song and just like sway to the music and get lost, forget time, forget everything and just be in that song, be in that beat and feel it and express it through movement, right? That to me is the actionable piece of advice for this question. If life is feeling really monotonous, which is like, to me, that means it's been feeling very repetitive. It's been feeling really lackluster. It's been feeling really dull. You need something to lose yourself to a little bit. You need to like fire up that passion for yourself or for your life or for something. The meaning of life does not need to be this strike of lightning, huge, holy cow moment where suddenly your life has meaning. It absolutely can be, but life can also have meaning in the small, little, tiny things. And it doesn't need to take up a huge amount of your time or your dedication or something you devote your life to. We can have multiple meanings. We can have one meaning, like we're all so different. And the paths that we take and the ways that our spirit guides us through life is different. And for some, they might find meaning differently in multiple different chapters of their lives. And for some, they may have felt like they knew their meaning or their purpose at a young age and fulfilled it through. And that was like the main core heartbeat of their lives, right? There's no wrong one. Both of those are great for different reasons. My second point to finding the meaning in life is to ask yourself, like, what is important to you? Because I think too, when we're moving through our lives and our routines and our day-to-day tasks, and they are feeling repetitive and dull and gray, what are you doing it all for? What is important to you? What do you value in life as a human being? Do you value security? Do you value a sense of belonging? Do you value family? Do you value love, creativity? Do you value connection? Do you value experiences? Do you value character building? Like, what do you value in life? If you even go on Google and just type in a list of human values, and like if you're not sure, or even if you are, you know a couple, but you want more, go type something like that into Google and just pull up a list, or just anywhere. You could probably do it on Pinterest too. Pull up a list, make note of the things that really stick out to you, of things that like, yes, you look at that and you're like, that is important to me. Or you're like, yes, like that means a lot to me. When you start to really hone in on those things, and those things can change, or again, you might be one of those people where those things never change your whole life. Like, we can fall anywhere on that scale. We might even have a few that never change and a few that shift and change depending on the chapter of life that we're in. Figure out what you value as a human being, and then use that to guide your life choices, because if you do that, then your life will start to feel more meaningful. And you don't have to drastically change your life for that either, as much as like that can sometimes be such a motivating or inspiring idea. And if it is, by all means, go for it. There is no wrong life choices, like we just decided. But if you don't have the opportunity, the ability, or this is not the right time to be making drastic big changes in your life. You have to keep doing those day-to-day tasks that are feeling monotonous. If you still look at what you value, then you can make small adjustments in your day that will give your life and your time and the things you're doing more meaning. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're living day to day, you wake up and you're just like kind of pulling yourself out of bed and you're just quickly getting ready without really paying much attention to it. And you drive to work and you go to your job and you're doing what you're supposed to do at your job. And then you eat your lunch and you kind of don't really talk to anybody at work, or you drive home and you get home and you make yourself some dinner and you watch a TV show and maybe throw a load of laundry on, and then you go upstairs, or you maybe doom scroll and avoid going upstairs, because sometimes, like I find when I've been in these places where life is just feeling really monotonous and I'm not feeling as inspired and lit up by life, that I almost like avoid going to bed, because then I have to wake up and do it all over again. If anybody has felt that, I know that that's a common thing. When you look at what you value and you pick out the things that you want to feel, that's another really good piece of advice. Look, well, how do you want to feel? Okay. How do you want to feel in your day-to-day life? Do you want to feel energized, motivated, creative? Do you want to feel joyous, laughter? Like, these are things that, again, that can tie you to the values that are going to be important to you. And let's say you can't change what you have to do every day. You still have to wake up and you have to go to the job and you have to pack the lunch and you have to drive home and make the dinner and throw in the load of laundry and get yourself to bed. There are little changes. Okay. So like, let's say you value joy, and you value energy or vitality or feeling really good in your body. You value health, feeling motivated. You value, let me look up a list of values. Hold on. You value family. You value friendship. You value courage. You value adventure. How about, as an example, let's say that this hypothetical person values creativity, beauty, and joy. Okay, so you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is look at the flowers beside your bed that you bought yourself your last grocery run because you enjoy beauty. Or you wake up and you go outside and you water the plant or the garden flowers that you just put outside your front door because you value beauty. Or you wake up and you get up a little bit earlier and spend a little bit of extra time doing your hair and makeup and picking out an outfit that makes you feel good because you value beauty. Or you wake up and your bed might be positioned in a new place in your bedroom because you rearranged your room to have a better feel to it because you value beauty. And then as you're getting ready, you play some of your favorite music because you value joy. And you go to work and you, I don't know, on the way, call a friend or send a friend a funny video or something because you value joy. While you're at work, you look at the problems that you're being faced with, or the things that you're meant to solve at your job creatively. And you look at it as like something you can have fun with, like a problem or a puzzle you were given, because you value being creative and finding innovative ways to overcome challenges and to think outside the box. And then you go to eat your lunch, and your lunch is not only beautiful, but it's full of bright colors, and it's a creative meal that includes some of your favorite tastes, And then on your drive home, you decide to, maybe you didn't pick up the flowers, so you decide to stop somewhere to pick yourself up flowers because you value joy and beauty. You decide to spend, instead of that hour watching TV, which you absolutely still can do, but you decide to spend instead that hour on a creative pursuit. I don't know, maybe if you wanted to feel more joy in your evenings, you put on music and you do like a fun dance workout. Like this is the same day that's no longer as monotonous because it is being infused with the things that you value in life. And those are subtle little shifts and changes that don't require you to drastically change your life and choose a completely different path, although you absolutely can. These are little ways. And honestly, I feel like these are the most achievable ways, but also the most long lasting, because yes, as much as like creating a whole new life and, jumping at a new opportunity, quitting your job, moving somewhere new, and breaking off the relationships, again, this is very nuanced what I'm saying here. Like maybe you really do need to get a new job. Maybe you really do need to move somewhere else. And maybe you really do need a new relationship or to break off that relationship. But sometimes I feel like when the idea or the feelings that we have are so gray and mundane that we do something drastic to like hugely change our lives, that feeling can be like a high, but it's not long lasting. And eventually we get accustomed to our new norm. And it can become an issue when we perpetually reinvent ourselves, basically rob ourselves the ability to ever really truly feel grounded and rooted in ourselves and in the lives that we're creating, because we're constantly recreating our lives. Now, again, that might actually be the right path for you in life, but for the most part, it's actually a symptom of extremeness in a way. And by all means, it is fun, especially in our youth, but also it doesn't matter what age you are. I take that back. It is required at times to overhaul our lives and get a fresh new perspective and a fresh new start and a fresh new slate and a huge change, but it's not required. And for the most part, it's not as long lasting as making just these subtle little changes that align with the values in your life. It's also normal, last thing I'll say, to go through phases of our lives where we kind of go on autopilot for a little bit. Even when we're on autopilot, that's not time lost. Some of the best things that I have ever done, created, or choices that I've ever made have come from breaking myself out of autopilot. And like some of the best subtle changes in my routine and in my life and in my day-to-day habits and the things that I choose to do have again come from being in the exact space that it sounds like you might be in, whoever wrote this in, where you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, my life is just feeling so gray and one note. And then the realization of that is an opportunity to start adding some color back into your life in fun ways. And if you look at it as that, as like a fun opportunity, and you look at it as like a creative challenge that you can now face and get fun, have fun with, but get creative with, then life starts to feel very fun again and not so monotonous. You can surprise yourself in how many ways you can really infuse new feelings and new values into your day-to-day without having to change too much. So try and lean into that as inspiration and see where that leads you. And if you have any advice for this input or this submission, definitely feel free to share. Or if you have any experience or something that, again, you related to, feel free to share. Otherwise, this is where I'm going to close it out. Actually, the sun is coming through at just the angle that I feel like this is the perfect time to close down our chat, because it's getting the lighting's getting a little funky. So that is my advice for the day. Let me know your thoughts and if you have anything else you want to add. And if this is the series you would love to see continued into the next season of summer, or if we should do something a little different. And without further ado, I'm cheersing you the last half of my smoothie, and I will chat with all of you guys in the next one. Bye.